The green subsidies just keep flowing. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. There's a new announcement that kind of got passed over. Came from the federal government late last week, and it reminds me of Ronald Reagan's old line. If it's moving, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. If it stops moving, subsidize it. Well, the green energy, the green vehicle movement, this has never really taken off, not in any significant way, unless it's subsidized. It's dead on arrival, and they keep trying to resuscitate it. We've already seen in Ontario a Siemens power plant that made wind turbines shut down because the subsidies dried up, and they're moving off to greener shores. Greener meaning they'll get bigger subsidies from wherever they're moving next. But when it comes to electric cars, it seems the government is determined to get us into vehicles that we don't want to buy. Across the country, provincial governments keep offering up subsidies for these vehicles, and nobody buys them. In Ontario, they recently said the problem is we don't have enough charging stations. So the provincial government is building charging stations, essentially gas stations, across the 401 corridor so that rich people that can afford to buy these cars can charge them up. Well, now the feds have decided it's not just the 401 corridor where most people live that we need to have these charging stations. That's right, they're going to be spending $8 million on a route across northern Ontario so that I can drive from, say, Ottawa to Winnipeg without having to worry about charging my electric vehicle. Now, is this working? Does it make sense? Do the numbers back this up? As I said, unless this is a subsidized industry, it doesn't exist. So how is the electric vehicle market doing these days? Well, let me read you off some numbers that tell the story. Turns out that 2016 was a banner year for the electric car market. They sold 11,000 vehicles. This isn't from me, this isn't from detractors, this is from boosters of electric vehicles. 11,000 vehicles across the country were sold. They now claim there's 30,000 electric vehicles on the market. 30,000. Hooray! That's about half the size of what? Red Deer? How does that compare to vehicle sales in the rest of Canada? Well, let me put that into perspective for you. According to Stats Canada, it was also a great year for regular car sales across the country. In total, 1.95 million vehicles were sold in Canada last year. In Ontario alone, 821,000 vehicles sold. That means that when you look at the electric vehicles versus the total vehicles sold, slightly more than half of 1 percentage point of all vehicles sold in Canada were electric vehicles. Half of 1 percentage point. And you know who's buying them for the most part? Not regular Canadians, not the average Canadian, not those in the middle class and working hard to join it. Now, these are cars for the wealthy set. These are cars for people that have money to burn, because when you look at the cost, and you look at what you get, it's hard to say that there's a good return. We'll start with one of the cheaper options, one of the more popular ones, the Chevy Volt. It retails for $38,890. And you know what it looks like? It looks like something I could get for $12,000 to $16,000. In fact, it reminds me of a Volkswagen Jetta. And, you know, they're similar in some ways. Volkswagen I can get for about $16,000. If it's on sale, a little bit less. That's brand new. How much extra gas can I buy for that $20,000 in markup? Then there's the Nissan Leaf. It sells for a little bit less than the Chevy Volt, but the same thing. They're similar types of cars in terms of the room, the style, the trunk space. I could get a similar car for about $12,000 to $16,000 instead of the $34,000 that Nissan wants. And then there is the Mac Daddy. There is the Tesla S model. It starts at $94,000. All of these cars, in addition to the free charging stations being built for them across the country by the federal and various provincial governments, all of them get big rebates from their respective provincial or federal governments. They're paying rich people to buy cars, and even the rich people are saying, yeah, unless I want it as a status symbol, I'm not really going to do it. It doesn't make sense, and yet they keep forcing it on us. You drive into parking lots in the nation's capital here in Ottawa. You drive up to City Hall. You get premium parking. You get preferred parking spots if you drive a green car. You often get free charging, and still people don't want to buy this. I'm not saying electric cars will never take off, but the technology's not there yet. The free market isn't there yet. And so the audience, the customers aren't there yet. But that won't stop Justin Trudeau and his crew and his partners in the provincial governments like Rachel Notley's or Kathleen Wynne's from continuing to push something the public doesn't want. Meanwhile, they just want to make everything else in our life, including driving regular cars, more expensive so that we can pay for the subsidies they want to give to their friends. If you like the Rebel video you just watched, make sure you never miss another one again. Click here to subscribe, and if you haven't subscribed to Rebel Canada, do that. All the Trudeau news the other guys don't want you to hear about.